Up until that point, that was usually the general manager's job to get that done, like when the Boston Celtics did it in 2007. But again, the Miami superstars were talking behind the scenes and arranged to join forces all at the same time. Don't let the revisionist history get to you.
All right, welcome back to another After Dark, everyone. Hope y'all having a good night. Hope you guys had a good day. I wanted to check out this video from Johnny Arnett. Actually, I've wanted to for a couple of days now, but I've been saving it for a reaction. It's called If a LeBron Decision Happened Every Decade. So, I mean, I get the premise of this, which would be if every 10 years we had a situation where three of the biggest stars ended up teaming up. I'm pretty sure that's what Johnny's angle is going to be. And I'm interested in this because, you know, if we're going to talk about like the 70s, 80s, 90s, even the 2000s, before we get to the 2010s, yeah, this would have just like ruined the game. It would have stacked the deck so hard that basketball would have honestly gotten pretty boring way before it got boring 14 years ago. It would have happened way sooner. So I'm curious about checking this out. Hope you guys are too. As always, I'm linking the original Johnny Arnett video down below in the description box. So if you guys want to check out the channel, or if you want to watch this video without my reaction, the link is right there. Highly recommend Johnny Arnett's channel, as always. Actually, I'll be completely real. It's been difficult since being having a reaction channel, because I used to watch all of Johnny Arnett's videos, and now I kind of like save a bunch of them for reactions. So I'm unintentionally watching less of his videos because of that reason. So it's been kind of hard. I gotta say the truth, if I wasn't, I'd probably watch every single one of his videos, because I was for a long time there. So highly recommend checking out Johnny's channel. Everybody, please leave this video a like. It helps out a ton. I appreciate you all. And let's kick back and enjoy this one. Let's see what Johnny's got for us. This is the worst intro ever, by the way, for a basketball YouTube channel. This is terrible. Look at it. The music sucks. The visuals suck. I'm just kidding. It's honestly the best intro I've ever seen for YouTube basketball.
About a month or two ago, I made a video called If the Best Players of Each Decade Pulled a Kevin Durant.
Nice.
And essentially, what that video was about is what the NBA would look like if other superstar players from years past did exactly what KD did.
I have to check that one out too.
Which was leave the team that just defeated him in the NBA playoffs and join that team in order to make an absolute powerhouse in that conference.
Okay, I definitely got to check that out, because that's literally Jordan joining the Pistons in the 80s.
It was really interesting to look through the decades and see how this would have gigantic ramifications on basketball history as we know it.
For sure.
The thing is, many people in my audience then requested that we do the same thing for LeBron James. Now let me make this clear. LeBron's decision and Kevin Durant's decision were not the exact same in nature. There was some similarities in the sense that both guys had just been eliminated from the playoffs and had left a less talented situation to join a far more significant one. What made LeBron's situation so unique is that he was one of three players signing on an organization while they were all in their late 20s in the prime of their careers.
Yep. That, real quick, is the biggest difference when people bring up Charles Barkley joining the Houston Rockets, for instance. It's not the same thing. Barkley was on his way out. He was about to retire. So was Hakeem Olajuwon. It's a whole different thing. These guys were in the prime of their career, literally in their prime. They were healthy in their prime, and they joined up and created a super team. Not the same. I have no beef with a player joining a team to help them win a championship on their final years. Same way it hurt when Nash joined the Lakers his final year. It hurt. Like, we hate the Lakers over here. It's a big rivalry. But I understood why he did it, because it was like, okay, the Suns kind of, we let him down. and he only had a year or two left. So it was the hardest thing because I was hoping he wins one because Nash is one of my favorite players, but I didn't want him to win it with the Lakers, if you know what I mean. But it's the same kind of thing. What did he do anything wrong? No, he's just trying to win one at the end. And like I said, I got no beef with that whatsoever. Reminds me of Jason Kidd winning one in Dallas before he was done.
Big Three Heat were immediately a super team who were extremely hyped and who people believed were going to win championships immediately. Were they the first super team in NBA history? Absolutely not. Were they the first team to be title favorites in the preseason, all based on their three-headed monster? No, that wasn't the case either.
Sorry, last thing I'll say, last example, is Boston, because they were older too. They weren't in their 20s.
But what they were the first team to do was have three superstars, all in their late 20s, in the prime of their careers, all decide to join forces on the same organization at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Up until that point, that was usually the general manager's job to get that done.
Yeah.
Like when the Boston Celtics did it in 2007. But again, the Miami superstars were talking behind the scenes and arranged to join forces all at the same time. Don't let the revisionist history get to you. This was a legitimate three-headed superstar monster.
Yep.
As LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh were all the top MVP vote getters the year prior out of the Eastern Conference.
Thank you for giving Chris Bosh some damn respect. Everybody just disrespects Bosh like he was nothing. Him and Kevin Love, man, we got to keep doing our part to remind people that, yeah, it was a big three. Just like it was a big three in Cleveland. Like it was a three-headed monster, like you say.
Of the 15 players who earned MVP votes in 2010, 11 of them were out of the Western Conference, which makes it very...
Oh.
In 2010, 11...
Lebowko, KD, Kobe, Dwight Howard, D Wade at number 5. I wish D Wade got one MVP. At least he's got a Finals MVP. Melo, interesting. Dirk, Steve Nash all the way down to 8 by this point. Yep, that makes sense. Suns were starting to collapse. Darren Williams. Yep. Excuse me. Man, Darren Williams was awesome. Amari, that I didn't realize he was up to number 10. That's cool. Manu Ginobili, number 11, 2010. I think he might have been coming off the bench that year as a 6-man. Chauncey, hell yeah. Chris Bosh, yep. Steven Jackson is a surprise. Wow. Joe Johnson, ISO Joe. Suns should have never got rid of you.
11 of them were out of the Western Conference, which makes it very clear that the East was the weaker conference in that era.
Oh, 100%.
So moving forward...
Here, I'll actually rewind that just because that is a very, very important point.
In 2010, 11 of them were out of the Western Conference, which makes it very clear that the East was the weaker conference in that era.
By far.
So moving forward, when I'm looking at each decade, the examples that we have to use has to be out of the weaker conference during that era. Let's start after free agency began, which was in the 1970s. In the summer of 1975, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar left the Milwaukee Bucks, but this time, instead of joining the Los Angeles Lakers, he would have signed with the Golden State Warriors. He would be joining the NBA superstar Rick Barry, who was one of the greatest scoring wings in NBA history. And additionally, joining Golden State as their third superstar option would be Nate Tiny Archibald.
Nice.
The three-headed monster of Kareem, Barry, and Archibald would have had the rest of the league shaking in their boots. Again, these guys were the top 3 MVP vote getters out of their conference in 1975. So as crazy as it sounds, this basically would have been the same kind of situation. How about the 1980s? Many people forget that early in the 80s, Magic Johnson was extremely upset with the Lakers situation, as he had little respect for the head coach and their decision-making. In this scenario, Magic...
Yeah, that was before Pat Riley took over. He was the assistant coach. Oh, what's the guy's name? Damn, is it in here? Yeah, Westhead. Ooh, that was going to drive me nuts. Okay. Yeah, Westhead was... He wasn't a real deal at all. He wasn't. So yeah, I'm glad Magic won that out. Westhead had to go.
Would leave in the summer of 1982, and he would be joining Moses Malone on the Houston Rockets.
Oh boy.
Forming an incredible dynamic duo with the two best players in the Western Conference. But again, there needs to be a third star.
Yeah.
So the third MVP vote getter joining the Rockets would have been the Iceman, George Gervin. What many people forget is that this whole thing is also addition by subtraction. Because if Magic leaves the Lakers get worse. If George Gervin leaves the San Antonio Spurs get worse. That's what happened with LeBron, Wade, and Bosh in 2010.
Yep.
As Bosh leaving the Raptors made them irrelevant, and LeBron leaving Cleveland made them irrelevant.
Yeah, that's how they got their first round pick, or their number one pick.
Immediately eliminated two of the biggest threats in that weaker conference.
Yep.
How about the 1990s?
See, that's a good point too from Johnny there, because here I'll play it back real quick.
And LeBron leaving Cleveland made them irrelevant, which immediately eliminated two of the biggest threats in that weaker conference.
Yeah, so think about their playoff run. You basically just rigged it to the point where you're obviously going to make the finals every year, because you've just dismantled two teams now, and two teams that were in the playoffs now they don't exist anymore, and you just stacked it all onto one team, which was the Miami Heat at that point. So of course you're going to win. You're going to get to the finals. That's why since the LeBron era, I take it means jack to me if you make the finals. It means something to me if you win the finals, because LeBron's whole era has been so easy to make the finals. That's why he's made 10 of them, because yeah, it's at the point where, you know, it doesn't take much to get there, because you're working with such a weak division and with such a weak conference, and he's actually done things in order to disable those teams that would have been in his way. So of course he's going to make every finals. What always mattered to me is what's his finals record, and that's why the 4-6 thing is just like, oh, you know, we'll just count to 4, and we'll just I'm not going to give any credit for those 6 appearances. It just doesn't work that way for me.
How about the 1990s? In the summer of 1996, Hakeem Olajuwon leaves the Houston Rockets, and he joins the San Antonio Spurs, teaming up with David Robinson, making an absolutely terrifying Twin Tower tandem. Additionally joining the Spurs as the third best MVP vote getter out of the West.
Charles Barkley? Would it be Barkley? Because he was in the West at that point.
Western Conference would be the reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Gary Payton.
All right.
Just think about the
Barkley was probably too old by that point. My bad.
Defense of this three-headed monster, as the glove would be terrorizing the perimeter, while Hakeem Olajuwon and David Robinson are forming the best interior defense that the NBA has likely ever seen.
Yeah, no kidding.
Now for the 2000s. In the summer of 2003, Tracy McGrady leaves the Orlando Magic, and he's joining Allen Iverson on the Philadelphia 76ers. Additionally joining Philly is one of the greatest defensive players in NBA history, Ben Wallace. Not only do you have a tremendous amount of offense with this group, but you're absolutely locking down the paint defensively. Based purely on my concerns about their chemistry, this might be the least impressive team of any decade so far. But regardless, they'd still be terrifying to most of the NBA.
It would.
Then we're skipping the 2010s because we obviously saw that happen with
That's reality, yeah.
Miami Heat. But now we're looking at the 2020s. And specifically, I'm looking at the summer of 2022, as Giannis Antetokounmpo leaves the Milwaukee Bucks to join Joel Embiid on the Philadelphia 76ers. And additionally joining them would be the superstar wing, Jason Tatum.
Yeah.
That's right. Giannis, Embiid, and Tatum were all the top 3 MVP vote getters in the weaker conference that season.
Straight up, Embiid would still find a way to lose.
Forming a three-headed monster that would not only immediately be a title contender, but they would be forming a dominant championship contender for probably the next 10 seasons straight. Obviously, this is all just crazy hypotheticals. But the reason I wanted to make this video is just to remind the basketball community of how crazy this move was when it originally went down. The three best players out of the conference all united on the same team at the same time. In any other decade in NBA history, if this happened, it would be jaw-dropping and sounds ridiculous even to envision it. But it happened.
Yeah.
And just because Kevin Durant's decision was even more dramatic, doesn't mean we should completely forget the significance of LeBron's. So what do you guys think? Of the hypothetical teams I mentioned in this video, which one would have been?
Oh, these three. Any one of these three. Yeah. This one, I mean, you got 2 out of the 3 heads that I believe in, but I believe this head is so toxic that it would slowly ruin the chemistry here. So yeah, I'm scratching that one, and I'm going with these three. Any of these three. Personally, this one or this one, but this one is sick too.
Been the strongest? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always. Make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Good stuff, Johnny Arnett. Good stuff. I mean, the reason that when they did this, it destroyed Toronto and it destroyed Cleveland, isn't just because the player left, right? It's not just because Chris Bosh left, and it's not just because LeBron left. It's because the organizations were building a team around these stars. You know what I mean? So they're making all these moves, planning ahead, you know, with draft picks, trades, doing whatever they can to build a team that works for this one star. And in the second that the star uproots and leaves for the super team, well, now this team makes no sense anymore. Now it becomes a complete rebuild. You know what I mean? So it's not the same as if like a role player leaves versus a star. When a star leaves, he leaves the team in complete ashes. And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. You know, Cleveland ended up with a nice draft pick a couple of years later in the name of Kyrie Irving. And the rest is really history with that. But yeah, that's why it's such a difference in my mind. You know, if this was something that was planned ahead, that wouldn't have impacted so much. That's a different story. But when all the momentum is like, okay, you know, we got LeBron to the finals, it wasn't enough. Let's keep building around him. You know, then we got him to the conference finals his last year there, but it wasn't enough. Okay, let's make some moves. And then all of a sudden he's gone. And you're left with a team that has no identity, because the identity of the team was to support the star. Then, yeah, I feel like a broken record here, so I'm going to stop on this tangent. What would have been your guys' favorite team? I wasn't expecting Johnny to go down the angle of take the weaker conference, but I totally get why he did it. But I would have loved to see Jordan join the Pistons. Jordan and Barkley, because they were both in the East at that point, or Bird. Take your pick. It could have been Jordan and Bird joining the Pistons, the bad boy Pistons, because honestly, the Pistons were beating both of those teams at that point, so they could have just got in there and formed a super monster, you know, while retaining all the players that they had with like Rodman and Isaiah and Joe D and all that, Bill Laimbeer. That would have been the ultimate team in my mind. Right there, that would have done it. Like, forget about it. It's rigged. It's over. No one would even watch it because it would just be an absolute slaughter every night. Anyways, everybody, great video by Johnny as always. Yeah, everybody, check out the channel if you haven't yet. Leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want more content like this. And I'm out of here for tonight. Peace out, everybody. See you in the comments.